Hello and welcome to the first episode of Talking with the Center of the Universe of 2025. And we're pretty late, it's like almost April, but now we have the start of the season, and today we have a guest, a guy that I've known for like more than 25 years. Hi, from Brainwash Machine and Next Life. Somebody know him as Next Life. He recently started a new project called Brainwash Machine. And when we met each other, it's like 1998.
Yeah, 99 or 98.
99 or 98, and you gave me a tape and with some Next Life music on it, or you played a tape with some music.
Yeah, probably a mini disc that I brought to Dillingøy.
Is a mini disc even?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I know you're spoiling the next question because you remember when we met the first time. And that was...
I think it was 99 because it was at Dillingøy.
Yeah.
On the civil service.
Yeah. It's a camp you go to before you go to the civil service. You camp with some people and do some meaningless stuff.
Yeah, I remember. But actually, 1999, that's when we quit school.
Yeah.
And after that, it was maybe at least half a year before I was called into Dillingøy. So maybe it was 2000, early 2000.
Yeah, maybe it could have been 2000, but it was around that time, like 25 years ago. And I was amazed by this music. That was really cool already then. So so it's a long time ago, and we come from some of the same background as we.
I remember we bonded so fast because we both were into this strange kind of experimental music. It was something that I discovered, that I noticed with you right away. Yeah, and we also did like I also made music on Amiga 500, and it was like doing like early tracker music. So it was pretty quick that we hooked up then and played some gigs together. Yeah. And at like the very start of the stuff that we were doing, we played like Amateuren, Next Life and Navigas members. That's a long time ago. Yeah, I think I made the poster for that gig. Yeah, you did. With Putin doing some judo. That's. You still have the flyer? Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice to see. Yeah, I can send it to you. Yeah. That's it. It's been a long time. But how did you start making music? When I was 7, I began playing guitar because we had a guitar at home. And I had older brothers who taught me some songs and some cover songs, which that's how I started. And after a few years after I started doing that, or very shortly after I started doing that, I did multi-track recordings with guitar and just singing stuff with the two cassette players and just experimenting with recording. And some years after that, I began tracking on Amiga. Yeah. So you played like one tape to another tape player and recording the output, and you played, and so the sound was getting worse and worse for each round. That's amazing. I remember when I started, I made the beats on the Amiga 500, and then I bought a 4-track in Lillestrøm. It was like a Tascam thing, Fostex, I don't remember. But then the dude in the music shop said like, this is professional equipment. You're not going anywhere away from this sound quality like in a long time. And it was like 97 or 98, and it was really noisy, but you had like the possibility to overdub like 4 tracks, which was amazing at the time. Yeah. But so you started on the guitar, and then the tracker thing came fast. Those things were separated when I began, because the guitar playing came from my interest in rock music and like band music that came from bands, while the tracking was something that came from interest in computers. Yeah. So it was two separate universes to begin with. But when did they merge? Maybe around 94 or 95. Me and my friend and my brother, we got tilbud, offered to play a concert, really cool concert in Tønsberg. So we said yes, and without having any songs. But our plan was to just skip the drummer and make all the drums on Amiga instead. And that's how I came to fuse guitar and computer music for the first time.
Yeah. But this is like, when you listen to the early Nextlife stuff, it's super complex and it's like changing all the time. Where did that come from?
That came in late, when the 90s progressed, hardcore punk became more and more complex and became more and more like mixed with technical metal.
Yeah.
And I think that's where my sense of progressive music came from.
Yeah.
That and prog rock.
Yeah, and prog rock.
Like King Crimson.
Yeah, because there is a couple of these bands from Tønsberg, like No Place to Hide.
Yeah.
And Jaga Assist.
Yeah.
And there's something in the water in Vestfold that makes people want to do this like super complex stuff.
Okay, I haven't thought about that, but maybe.
I have. But you know the No Place to Hide guys, is that Espen
Yeah.
Hangård, and he was a part of that? Or?
Espen Hangård was the vocalist. I think he was the person who wrote most of their songs. I'm not sure actually,
No,
but I think so.
But he was in the band.
Yeah, he was guitarist and vocalist.
Because I know Espen Hangård also been like transitioning into electronic music, and there is like one of the few bands that I could actually link to Nextlife musically is the project that he had with Martin Horntvedt.
Kill. Yeah.
It's one of the few bands that have like the same, which is also like a Tønsberg.
Yeah.
Martin is also a Tønsberg guy, and Kill with Arm Mokkelvost. And
Are Mokkelvost.
yeah, that's like one of it's the only band, and maybe Skarnspage.
Yeah.
If you know them, that you can link to that scene.
Skarnspage, when we began, I felt that Nextlife and Skarnspage was very much in the same scene, or we came from the same. We had the same background, and what we wanted. Our intention with the music was kind of similar.
And but it's only you that still go with this. But I feel like
I stopped.
Yeah. But it's leading us into the next question. So Nextlife is like finished now for a while.
It's not finished. It's on ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last album was.
Guru Meditation.
Yeah, and it was which year?
What?
It was released in which year?
2020.
Yeah, it's not that it's not that far.
No.
So that leads us into the next question, and it's it's about the new project. You switched I think of Nextlife just as you, even if I know that there's more members. There have been more members in and out. So. Maybe I have to ask that first. Who was Nextlife and what was the current lineup of people?
Right now, Nextlife is Ames Shor, who played drums in No Place to Hide in the 90s.
Yeah.
He's a brother of Espen.
Yeah.
He plays the drums in Nextlife, and I do the rest.
Yeah.
And that's the current.
That's the current. First, there was a keyboard player also.
Yeah, Tormod. I worked with Tormod since maybe 2000 or 2001. He began to play the keyboard in Nextlife, and he played until maybe 2018.
So that's a long period.
Yeah, he was a really valuable part of Nextlife for a long time.
Yeah, because I saw you. It's before we go to the next question. I've seen you live several times, both with Tormod and with Anders, and the concerts are super intense.
Yeah.
And they are really, really short and to the point. So it's like 15 minutes with like total craziness, and then it's over.
Yeah.
What is the thought behind the
thought behind that is Nextlife come from punk rock, hardcore punk, and within hardcore punk, that style, 7 inches is a really popular format for a reason, because the music is really intense. So short, in a 7-inch, a punk rock band, or the kind of punk that I listen to, they can have 10 songs or 12 songs on a 7-inch. So our thought was that our music it comes from punk rock, so therefore we are better off with having intense and short sets, which is really really explosive for a while, and then it stops.
Yeah,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you the only consistent member of the project? Is it
No.
since you have talked about changing lineups? Are you the only one who has been through it all? So would you say it's
Yeah.
like your project, or is it more like a organic process and it's kind of random? Or how would you describe this?
It's it began as a project that I started because there wasn't so many metal or people who played hard music in Tønsberg, where I come from. It wasn't so many people at that time when I began Next Life. So I began Next Life much because people in my bands always quit because they had to go to military, or they got a family, or they had some reason to stop playing hardcore punk. So that's why it was important for me to have computer drums in Next Life, so it would be something that could live even if I didn't have any friends.
It sounds sad. It's yeah, but it's I think of it as your solo project, even if like Tormod was a huge part.
Yeah, so that was when I started out. That was the idea. But Tormod was my friend at that point, and he actually convinced me to do the first Next Life concerts. And when I did the concerts, then how I thought about the project changed. Suddenly, it wasn't only a studio project that was supposed to just cover my needs for progressive music. Suddenly, then it became something that it became a product in a way.
Yeah. It's really as you see. Yeah, we have to go on to the next question. When that was your main project for almost 20 years,
yeah, 20 years.
And then like I was surprised when I suddenly heard that you had changed the alter ego to Brainwash Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was wondering. I think when I heard it, I felt first the music is similar, but it's also not similar at the same time. What is the difference between the two projects? And what was the process? What led you to like continue with another project?
Can say Next Life and Brainwash Machine are really similar in how I make them, but can say that the expression there are different intentions. The projects have different intentions. Next Life have one intention, and Brainwash Machine has a slightly different intention. And because the intention is different, the music or the expression has to be different too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the intention is for the different projects is like shortly.
I can say for Next Life, it was the fascination of Next Life was it was really intense and intellectual in a way. It changed all the time. While Brainwash, the intention is to have a more balanced expression, which is it's not intellectual, but it's less intellectual than Next Life, in order to make your ass move.
Yeah, but that's the point. It's like
to be physical.
Yeah, again, it's a really good similarity to my own music, even if the music is really different. I also had like a change at some point where I understood that the music I made was dance music, and even if I kept the same moniker all the time, I feel like my main thoughts on the Brainwash Machine project is that that's something you can play for people to dance.
Yeah,
that's something you can play.
That's the intention as well. So if you, yeah, that's really nice for me to hear that that's how you understood or how you experienced it.
Yeah, I experience it as like it's almost club music. There's something you can play in a club, but. It's a lot less complex, but it's in rhythmically. But it's something that it makes you want to move. Yeah. And I was also like I was afraid of this 4 to the floor down speeds for a while, but then when I had to grow up to think that like there's something wrong about people wanting to move.
Yeah, it's the same for me. It's I grew up with this kind of progressive rock music, and people within that scene. They have a completely different mentality when they go to concerts and when they listen to music at home, and what they want the music to do to them.
Yeah, it's like almost club music. We should have maybe it's a point in the stream where we. Yeah, no, we're not there yet. Yeah, maybe we could have the jingle then. How about the next next album? Yeah, how's the next album coming along?
Next album is coming along really good. After I released the last album, really short after, because I spent over a year making the last album. So in that process, I had so many new ideas. So when at once I released that album, only days after I released it, I began writing the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because I had so many ideas, it went really fast. So the next album is coming out in maybe 2 months or 3.
So fast?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The newest one. That's what is it called again?
Format the System.
Format the System. Yeah, it's a great. It's a little Amiga in there.
I'm a computer freak, so
yeah, there's Amiga fun in there. Yeah, and it's released by the self-feedbacker label, run by Petter Flaten Eilertsen.
Yeah.
Dude that's been making so much interesting stuff for the Oslo music scene.
Yeah, he is a legend.
Yeah, a total legend. And he started a label now. He had several labels, and he was like also working with booking.
Yeah.
And I know him from the independent noise stage Brugata, where he was like also putting up like stuff that you couldn't see somewhere else, like Japanese noise music in the almost like apartment of Brugata.
Yeah.
So I have to have a little shout out to Petter for all the nice stuff that he did, and also now as a label dude.
Definitely, Petter has been. When I came to Oslo in the late 90s or in the beginning of the 2000s, I met Petter really early, so I have known him for a long time, and he's been. I think he had the label already then when I met him the first time. So he's been an important person in the Norwegian underground scene.
Yeah, very much. And the new label is like I haven't like really checked the profile of the new stuff, but he's like. Releasing interesting things, and he's a serious guy. So yeah, so shout out to.
Yeah, I think we have a comment in the chat.
Okay.
Let's see if we are able to open the chat.
No, I don't think so.
Let's see. Oh, it's season.
It's not really showing.
Season start. Let's see. Is it coming now? No.
Here's one.
Ah, here we go. Interact. Are you able to read it? Or should I zoom it in?
I can see.
You can see it. You want to? Oops.
Can you see that?
It would be cool how you could talk a little bit about how there was a hype also international and these
Okay. What can I say to that? Next Life, when it came, it was really unique. Because not so many people have made really like metal, really hard metal combined with 8-bit music. So I think because we were so early, we got a hype in Europe that led to a European label and European manager who was really good at booking shows. So I think much of the reason that Next Life got to play so many concerts was our style was for the time really unique, and we had people, the audience were also ready for that combination in a way. It wasn't too old, it wasn't too new, it was the right time.
Yeah, but when Which year are we talking about now?
2000, around that.
Yeah, like early.
Yeah, yeah.
Early
From
period,
2000 to 2010, like 8-bit music was. It was crazy. Not so many people used it like we did, so that we used 8-bit computers. Original computers was something that was special for people, especially people who had a tradition from those kind of computers in the old days.
Yeah, but it's still a scene, like doing these things.
It's a scene of old dudes.
But I feel like it's maybe more of a scene the last 10 years than it wasn't. I feel like 2000s. The originality of your style, first of all, it comes from this like hardcore and metal stuff combined with the Amiga and 64 and like chiptune stuff, because that's not what you hear too often. But I think like this retro computing stuff is it was pretty dead in the 2000s when there was like new people who were like, I feel like electronic music was super centered.
I think I know what you mean. Is it because it was the scene ended in the late 90s or in the early 2000s?
Yeah.
When it died for a reason. People had moved on. You know? But after a while, people are start to get nostalgic. And I think that's the reason why you think that the scene is bigger now than it was before. In truth, it wasn't.
Okay.
In truth, the scene was always consistent in its existence. But it wasn't so interesting for normal people before it became a really nostalgic thing, like it is the 10 last years now. The 90s is a long time ago.
Yeah.
But when in 2005, the 90s wasn't so long time ago.
But you were already you were actually never leaving. It wasn't even retro.
I never left, so...
It wasn't even retro. It was like just like... and that maybe... I think
fucking stuck in the past.
But I think that's it can explain the popularity of the music that you did, since it was like nobody else doing it. And it's a really potent combination.
Yeah, I think that was much of the reason why because Next Life is not an easy expression to take in, but because the sammensetninga, the composition of things, the combination of things was so different.
Original.
Yeah,
I would say.
in a way.
I think that's what I'm not giving advice to artists in general, but I feel like if somebody says that you should make something that sounds like everything else to get popular, there's a lot of artists and bands that think like if I sound like all the other famous music, I will become popular and successful too.
But when you think, if you think that, then you start from your head. You think strategically.
Yeah.
For me, it's always been important to have the things that I do start emotionally.
Yeah.
And from my emotions, I can analyze my emotions with my intellect, and from my intellect, it goes out to my actions.
Yeah.
I think that it's important for people who make music to start emotionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that your product comes from your emotions and not from your head in a way, not from strategy, but from emotions.
That's a very good point. So you've just skipped that whole discussion altogether. It's even smarter than what I was supposed to say about it. Because what I was supposed to say about it is that I would point to people like you, who did like something that was like completely out of hand. And it still got popular, and you still got gigs, and you still got people to like the music. So it's nothing that would happen if you were like thinking strategically.
I think it's not impossible. Actually, if you use your head, you can have strategy that can make you popular. But I don't think that such a product will last in the long run.
No, well, me neither.
It's
a really good point there.
I'm not. No matter what you believe in, there's an expression called music with sjelløs musikk.
Yeah.
Sjelløs musikk.
Yeah.
Music without a soul.
Yeah.
I think that's what you get if you use your head too much.
That's a really good point. Maybe we have come to the
I have a question.
Yeah.
If I can skip in.
Yeah.
Back to the feeling less again. But are you still using all the computers, or have you changed your workflow now?
Around 2002, a team called, I'm not sure what the team is called, but they made a program called Renoise, which is a tracker like the Amiga trackers from the old days, but with modern features. So when that came out, I quit using Amiga altogether. Yeah, I just moved on to Renoise. I use Macintosh, but I still, for Next Life, even though I moved away from Amiga, all the sounds came from Amiga, and I took the same sounds into the new tracker.
Yeah.
So that's why Next Life probably will always sound Amiga or sound 8-bit because of that.
Because one thing I think about as an electronic musician is that with all this new software and computers and so on, there is basically like there is no way to learn it all. Like you can't really get to the bottom of it. But with these old computers, it's like you can actually get the sense. Like you can even like pop it up and like, oh, we have to solder this part. Like someone on the internet will know, and you can like fix it and all of this. But if you're using like a modern computer, it's just like buy a new product and oh yeah, something is happening with the software here, and oh yeah, but you don't have any control over that. So that's one thing I think it's very interesting with old computers.
It's called Task Manager.
But it sounds like
it's more mechanical. It's closer to the analog stuff that you remember from the old days in a way, because it's simpler. The more technology has advanced, the less we understand of it in a way, because it's so complex, like a mother or kretskort. It's so complex that a normal person, even the person that works with it, doesn't know what's actually going on.
No, it's crazy.
It's alien stuff.
We're jumping ahead of you're almost jumping ahead of the questions.
Whoops.
So no, it's all right. It's all right. But we have to talk more about this. But I think we maybe have come to the point, like halfway, we should just show a little Brainwash Machine music to people so they know what we are talking about. Of course, feel free to. I can post the links in the comments to the old Next Life music and to some albums and stuff. I already posted some, I think. But so you could check out. But I think we should, and then we come to a question that is like continuing what you started now. Maybe that's a good idea.
Okay, should we play the track?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
excellent. Really nice. I feel like the album is like a long boss fight. It's like it gives you really gives you energy to like it gives me energy to listen to this stuff, and it's like
I've always been really inspired by computer games, music from computer games, and especially role-playing games because it's so dramatical and it's so strong in telling a story with only melodies or without words. So that's a thing that I'm really impressed by and inspired by.
Yeah, me too actually. We come from a similar background with like this Amiga and trackers and the demo scene. And as you can see behind the hair, it's been a huge influence for me also. Like, but you can hear it much more in your music, like the Last Ninja soundtrack. The like simple, consistent parts of the music, like the limitations of just so many channels.
Yeah.
And
especially the C64, Commodore 64 sounds are really distinct and hard, so it cuts through really nicely.
But the sounds you're using in this project, is that only Amiga sounds?
No, in this I actually use a lot of modern synth sounds or modern synthesizers that I take into the tracker.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's mostly sounds from Commodore 64 because that's more iconic, or it's not. Yeah, it's more iconic than sounds from Amiga, because Amiga, even though Amiga has an 8-bit sound, it's based on samples.
Yeah.
So samples, yeah, you can hear it has a certain quality to them, but they're not as unique as the Commodore sounds, which are based on synths.
Yeah, that's a SID chip.
Yeah.
It
actually generates its own sound, while the Amiga has sampled very often. Amiga has sampled stuff from other things, and by doing that, you get the Amiga coloring of the sound, but the sound came from somewhere else.
Yeah. But it's you can hear but it's like sampled C64 waveforms and stuff that you usually don't.
Actually, yeah, it's partially that, and also the synth that I'm using is called Nexus. It's made by this old school team, Swedish old school team that also made something called Quadrasid in the old days, so that we also used in Next Life.
Yeah.
That's how I began using this Nexus. But within this Nexus, there is a lot of Commodore 64 emulation. So a lot of the sounds that I use in Brainwash Machine are actually from that Nexus.
From that Nexus, and that's a hardware synth that you can play.
It's a software synth.
It's a software synth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the synth I saw with on stage, that's something else.
That's with that synth, because on stage I use computer.
Yeah, so that's just a controller for the.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's still so it's an emulation. Yeah, I don't care too much about if something is an emulation or not, as long as it works. So that's no. But I know like a part of the scene is like they have to do it on a real 64 and stuff, but I don't care too much about that.
Yeah, actually, I think one reason to do it with a real 64 is that you get the authentic sound. Because within a C64, it's a lot of noise in there.
Yeah.
So if you this modern synthesizers where you have copied the SID chip and taken it into modern hardware, and you kind of lose the
texture.
The analog crappy texture that is in the background.
Yeah.
And that's good for mostly it's for something that's good, but you lose the authenticity.
Yeah. But it's also like the limitation of the stuff that goes on that makes some of this music exciting. Also, game music, like early Nintendo, like Nintendo Entertainment System and Game Boy and C64, and you have like only 4 channels and you have to do them all. So I
think actually on Game Boy we only have 3, or C64 is only 3.
Yeah, the C64 is only 3 channels.
Yeah.
So that makes it like interesting to try to compose with only these 3 channels.
It's really interesting.
And I'm not sure if I would be able to make anything meaningful with like only three channels. And then think that some of these old game soundtracks sound primitive, but if you keep that in mind, it's like, how did they do this with only 3 channels? If you do a chord, you use all 3, so you have to be like creative.
Yeah. That's something that's really inspiring to me still. That is the working with limitations. That's why I think that watching demos on Commodore 64 or Amiga is something that's really interesting, because I know that they work with so much limitations. So when they manage to make a video that is 10 minutes long in 64 kilobytes, it's just like mind blowing.
Yeah.
So it's just so fascinating, and not only that, but it's really sympathetic thing to do, because you take little and you create much.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's something with that mentality that is really inspiring to me.
We had some demos behind here. Maybe Chris will be able to find them. He also I see he's like
do you know where they are?
They are called like demos or something. It's not like this is the last Ninja, but they
Is
are
it from this one?
I think it's yeah, these ones. But I also see Chris has a question, probably coming up soon. But maybe you should have Chris's question, and you can talk a little bit about what's going on behind here.
I don't know if I have a question, but like one question is actually, how do they manage to like this demo scene? Like, how do they manage to get it so complex in this little space? Is it back to how the like you were talking about on the Commodore 64, that it was generated instead of recorded? Is that part of how they're able to make so much with so little space?
No, actually, the reason for that is because the Commodore actually contains a synthesizer, which is called the SID chip, which is yeah.
It's a synthesizer inside
in itself.
Yeah.
The Amiga also
this
has.
I understand, but is it?
But the graphics.
What about
I
the
think
graphics then?
Yeah.
That's due to really advanced and good programmers who manage to compress stuff and compress it so much that something that should have taken many megabytes can be compressed down to 4K or 64K.
But the demos you see here, it's from Amiga.
The demo in the background there is 64K.
Yeah, and it's from Amiga 500.
Yeah, no, Amiga 1200.
1200.
It came out in 2000.
But this is the people you know.
No, I don't. That's made by a German group that I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was one of the most legend. When I saw that, I was just mind blown.
Me too, actually. But this is from 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember, like in the 90s, also I saw stuff like this, and I was like, "How did they do this on like Amiga with like limited graphics and limited space?"
You can fit this on an Amiga floppy with just 700K. It was just to receive this in the mail.
Yeah.
And insert it into the Amiga and see the 10-minute production with real-time ray tracing, which is contained in this demo. It was just like hair raising.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it's now it doesn't look that special, but it's to people that weren't part of the scene maybe. But I can like see, if I saw this on Amiga 500, I would like be really shocked. About I think we're getting to the Spaceballs also soon, because I just put all the videos after each other, and like these graphics things, I don't know how they even did that at that time.
No, it's much in this late stage of Amiga demos. They used a lot of 3D programs on PC and then converted those vector-based objects to Amiga.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think we're getting to the Spaceballs soon. I don't remember how long this is.
This is 10 minutes. So
this is 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe skip like to like 10, because that's someone you know.
Yeah. That's actually Spaceballs is the group that I was a member of in the 90s. Well, I'm still a member of it. But,
and the group still exists.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is Spaceballs.
Yeah. And this from which year?
I think that is from probably 97 or 98. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. There is also music on it.
Maybe it's actually later.
There is music on it, but I don't think I have the music on the file now. Yeah, but on the original video there is music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you see, if I remember, I could put this one in the comments, and it's on YouTube with the music and all. So, but I didn't take it with the music now because it would be like on the top of the talking.
Yeah, we have one more chat comment. A little bit of an advertisement here. You want to read it out loud or translate it to English?
Yeah, translate it, please. Yeah, I could say if you want a little bit more advertisement for the Brainwash Machine album, Roland at Filter said that you can order the tape and the vinyl will come in April at Roland at the best synth shop actually in Oslo.
I bought something there. I'm not sure, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's a stayer. It's the best place to get synths, and it's also the best place to get vinyl if you're like into house and techno.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I'm getting it's a little too much for me to see and think about all this stuff. I'm getting like drawn back in time. Maybe I have to continue to the next question.
Yeah.
Your aesthetic has some influences from martial arts and ninjas and stuff. Is that because you have a Vietnamese background, or is it more like a game culture thing, or both?
The fascination for ninjas, for ninja culture, it came only. For me, it came from The Last Ninja on Commodore 64 and some other games like Shadow Dancer, and you have some few games. But outside of that, the ninja concept was kind of disappointing to me because The Last Ninja was so strong introduction. And that's where I saw a nunchaku for the first time. It was like a pixelated nunchaku, and I didn't understand what it was. And going from that, didn't understand, and then you understand what it was, and you made it yourself in the forest. That was kind of like a magic thing. So when I was young, my fascination for ninjas came from there. It came from The Last Ninja.
Yeah.
Later, I have come to realize that swords and nunchaku is something that some Asian people can look. They can look good with it. It's an aesthetical thing.
Yeah.
It's a little like some Americans, like Rambo. He looks good with a Gatling gun. It's kind of the same. It's a part of our culture, and yeah, some Asian people looks really aesthetical with.
But it's aesthetics. It's not like it's not. I don't feel like threatened at any point by this aesthetic as with a gun or like. To me, it's like kind of more like. Not symbolic in that violent way. It has more to do with like the music having action and I feel like it's not like the music is not violent. It's just like it has some edge to it, and there the ninja thing of and like discipline and
the high adrenaline.
Yeah,
and that's something that has something in common with fighting in a way. But I'm like you. I've never fought in my entire life, and I'm not a violent person. So for me, that using the nunchaku as an aesthetical thing, it's okay because the nunchak, it's as you said, it's a different from a pistol. It's a different kind of expression. It's something that came from farmers in Japan, and it has. Its culture is not solely violent, and it's something that's analog. You have to have technique, and it's a different kind of expression. Holding that is very different from holding a gun.
I think like also I will link that to like karate and it's being like a defense thing.
Yeah.
Maybe more than like attack thing.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's an interesting.
You can't do mass genocide with the nunchuck, but you can do mass genocide with the Gatling gun.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think. Yeah, we still have some time, or we have as much time as you want. But I think like I'm going to fire off one of the last questions. All your projects has like a visual and multimedia part, like you can see here. When did that start?
That began when I went to school at the Academy of Fine Arts. I came in with only music, but already when I came in, I had ideas of how to make a visual, to add a visual element to it. And when I went to that school, they taught me in video editing and lights, or they didn't teach me light, but that's where I found the information that I needed to begin doing lights.
Yeah, so it's something, it's come in quite late.
Yeah, relatively, but it's 2000, it's not that late.
Yeah, but it's amazing that you actually went to art school with this project. I feel like it's something that could happen now. It's amazing actually, like this multidisciplinary thing, but that this project, I feel like it's totally art, but I think it's still amazing that you have like art education and you do stuff like this. It's not like what I would expect.
But you have to remember that when I came, when they took me into the Art Academy in Norway, I think they had an idea that they had to have some artists that worked with audio or like audio artists.
Yeah.
So I think that in the period where they took me in, it was like they wanted to have that. It was important for them to have some people that worked with audio as their main form. But I think that some time after they took me in, and some years after that, they didn't have that idea anymore.
No, I feel like it's something that maybe they can that the art scene has been like it has gone more apart from the music scene maybe. Yeah. But at the point maybe in the 2000s it's more, as you say, they wanted like someone to work with audio, but also the people that are working with like sound art and sound art now, they do very different stuff than like your.
Yeah, but you have to remember that I am a big part of my career is to be a performer.
Yeah.
And when you perform, for me, it's important to have music that fits my performance in a way. So I think that when I come to the part of my life where I stop performing, my music will also change a little.
Yeah, but this I would think it's like super interesting if you label this music sound art, and you see what can come out of it. Because I feel like the distinction between music and sound art can be a little something they just put somewhere. It's like at some point it will stop being music and start being sound art, and at some point it will stop being sound art and start being music. But I feel like music like this can be both, and it depends. For me, it depends where you perform it. If you do it in a gallery or if you do it in a concert venue, and I think it's really a lot of things to get from keeping this openness between the arts, different part of the art scene and music scene.
Yeah, I always like to have a let the fields cross over each other.
There is something really interesting in there, where it's like it can be both, maybe, or it's like it doesn't. I feel like some sound art is like it works a lot with just not being music, but to me that's no point. it can be sound art and it can be music at the same time if you do it right, I think.
Yeah, I think that if you make music and your style is really it's perceived as something that is unique and new, then for normal people, for a while it will be sound art, but over time it will become music.
Yeah, this is an interesting. I feel like it depends on a lot of factors as where it is shown, maybe more. But this, I would show this in a gallery and like label it sound art. It doesn't have to be like a microphone down in the earth, even if that could be interesting too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any more questions in the chat, or should we? No more questions in the chat. Yeah. Maybe we should say goodbye to Hai after a very, very last question. I'm having a really good time here, and also thanks to Soppen and Kristoffer.
Thanks.
It's running the stream. Yeah, we forgot about using the horn sample.
Game over sound.
Yeah, the game over sound. Yeah, soon it's the game over sound. But is there any artists or musicians or DJs, some stuff we should look out for? Something that you really like, feel like you?
Right now, I listen to mostly tracker music. I went back to the tracker music lately, but outside of that,
you can have a shout out of some tracker people if you want to. That would be totally cool.
TNT, but he's probably not watching. He's one of my he's a tracker musician from Germany who taught me a lot about making dance music. So yeah, he helped me transition from Next Life into Brainwash Machine in a way, just by being my friend and showing me his music and stuff like that. But other than that, I live in the 80s in a way. I do check out new stuff, but what I mostly listen to is the old stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like synthwave things, or it's like what I was supposed to say about Brainwash Machine is it's like it's almost synthwave, but it's not synthwave. It's not the cliche. It's not the cliches that you're afraid of. It's synthwave. It's more like game music. But what kind of 80s music are you referencing now? If you say
I listen to like power ballads because I like.
I didn't expect that.
I like sad stuff, melancholic melodies. So, yeah, ballads.
Ballads? I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
I would expect that to say like dance music, acid house, techno.
Not so much.
No.
But
no.
I like
it's
to go.
Interesting.
I like to dance to that kind of music. So, but a lot of the music that I like to dance to, I can't listen to. So that's what I try to do with Brainwash Machine. I want to make a kind of music that, one, I want to listen to it when I sit down at home, but I can also dance to it.
Yeah. That's a really good idea, I think, to do. I think it's a good recipe for good music.
Yeah, it's a goal.
That you can, it would be good in both. There are some music that you really can't listen to. I also have that. It's like
it's a lot of the dance music that I began dancing to. It's not so interesting for me to listen to it because the melody or the arrangements are repetitive and they're not telling a story. If you understand.
Yeah.
Like in progressive music.
Yeah.
And because I come from progressive music, I'm to have a story that develops or a melody that develops through the song, it makes me feel so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that Brainwash Machine is the perfect dance music, but its intention is to try to cover what I look for in dance music.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, it's nice because it's dramatic and it's still in. Oh, more questions if you want one. How did growing up on a small island outside Tønsberg form the artist's eye? And will there be any more gigs this year? Yeah.
Growing up, Nøtterøy, it's not so far from Tønsberg. And when I grew up there, Tønsberg was the greatest city for music in Norway. So I think that, It was beautiful to grow up there. It's no problem. What was the second question?
Yeah, that was the only question we had.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was if there will be any more gigs this year.
Yeah, I have one show at a rave party in July, and one show here at Mir in June. Yeah, that's the only thing that I have planned now.
At Mir, nice.
I'm trying to make a new album now, so I'm mostly focused on that. But I think that that I will play a lot more on Mir, because that's a place that I really I like the people, and I like the place, and I like the dance floor. It's become kind of like my new favorite place.
Cool.
It's a shout out to Mir downstairs from where we broadcast. There is a gig there tonight, actually. I really don't. I only know the drummer of the band, which I met when I was out buying saltstenger to our cameraman. Saltsticks to our cameraman of the 25.
It has a name in English.
Yeah, and it's been a pleasure talking to one of my good friends.
Thanks for inviting me.
It's been a pleasure to hear a little bit about your music, and people who watch this, check out the Brainwash Machine album, go back in time, check out some old school Next Life, and see you again pretty soon, and thanks for watching.